My ferritin is really pretty high, and I'm mulling over what to do about that and what this means. So that's what I'm talking about today. Hi there, my name is Sue. Welcome to my channel. If you've not been here before, I have been eating a carnivore diet, or a mostly carnivore diet. I kind of alternate between strict carnivore and not quite so strict, for just over 3 years now. So my health has improved a lot over the 3 years. I finally have seems I've got on top of my gut issues and my bowel issues that I've had. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back and have a look at some of my older videos. I've spoken a lot about what was going on with me in those videos. But it seems that the whole health thing just is this kind of never-ending story that just keeps going on and on and on. Now, before I go any further, I need to tell you about the sponsor for today's video. This video is sponsored by Particular Supplements. Particular are a company that are all about healthy aging and science-backed longevity, with supplements such as Nmen and resveratrol and quercetin. Their supplements are not only focused on anti-aging and longevity, but they also support metabolic health and energy and overall well-being. Every particular supplement is third-party tested with certificates of analysis that are publicly available, so you can verify your bottle's purity and potency yourself. And they are made in the USA in FDA and NSF registered facilities. Their supplements contain no fillers, artificial additives, or GMOs, just pure clinically dosed ingredients. To find out more about Particular, visit the link below the video and use my code Carnivore15 for 15% off your order. Now let's get back to the video. And so what happened was, over the last maybe 6 months or so, I'd kind of noticed that, maybe a year, I'm not really sure, kind of noticed that things weren't quite as good as they were. Even though, my bowel had been playing up. For a couple of years, I was feeling pretty good. And then I just started to notice it was a bit more inflammation in my body, a bit more pain, aches and pains, that sort of thing. And I wasn't kind of quite sure what was going on. And so I had a feeling. I'd been seeing people on X talking about, donating blood, and I looked into things to do with iron and ferritin a little bit. But I kind of just had this growing feeling inside of myself that I should go and get a ferritin test. And I'm pretty good at kind of following my intuition. It works quite well for me most of the time. So I finally bit the bullet and went and had a ferritin test done in April. My level came back at 510, which is, even with the ranges that they use in the labs, it is way kind of over what it should be. So the range here for women goes from 20 to 288, I think it is. And so, mine came in at 510. Now, when I first got that result, I wasn't too bothered about it. I wasn't sure whether to panic. I kind of had a bit of a look to see, kind of what that might mean, and realised that it can be a number of things. So high ferritin can be to do with iron storage, so you can just have too much iron in your body. It can be because you have inflammation in your body for some reason. So it can be because you have liver disease, and I don't think that would be the case, because I had my liver enzymes and everything tested probably about a year or so ago, a year to 18 months, and they were good. So I can't imagine that I've developed liver disease in the last 12 months. It can be cancer, so who knows? It can be autoimmune disease. Now, that's a possibility, I guess, because of the way that my bowel has been, and anyone who follows my channel knows that I don't have a GP, I don't have a doctor, I don't go to a doctor, so I don't have names for what was going on with me. So my bowel issue could be autoimmune. I did have autoimmune thyroid disease quite a number of years ago. So usually where there's one autoimmune disease, there can be others. because they all have the same cause. So I don't know, but I was picking that it was to do with, iron storage. I wasn't really sure. So I thought what I would do was leave it for a month and go and get tested again, because I thought there could have been something acute going on. And, if my levels dropped after a month, then it might have just been some kind of acute, infection or something like that, because it can be. So I went and had my ferritin tested again in May. So I think it was just over a month later. And my levels came in at 540. So they'd gone up by 30 points. So that was when I decided to go and donate some blood. I had never considered donating blood before, but, I'd been seeing people talking about it on X and how, it has all these benefits, and lowering iron levels in the body is one of them, obviously. So I went and donated blood probably about 2 months ago. And it was a bit of a harrowing experience, to be honest. I had a feeling, because my body just responds to things in bizarre ways. And so I went and the actual donation itself went really well. Took less than 5 minutes. The blood just poured out of me. And then I was still lying back on my chair. They kind of set me up, and they said that I could stay there for a few minutes if I wanted to, don't rush. So I sat there for a few minutes, and they, are you feeling okay? And I'm like, I think so. But I'm thinking to myself, I'm actually not sure whether I feel okay or not. So after a few minutes, I thought, I better get up and go over, because they have a table over to the side with some drinks and all the junk food that they try to feed you, sweets and biscuits and things. And so I went and sat over there, and I'd taken some broth with me. So I had that. The man came over and started talking to me and asking me if I wanted some juice or a Kit Kat or something. And I said, no, I'm fine. I've got my broth here. And he's like, oh, can I get you, have, and I'm like, no. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, oh my God, I don't feel very well. And so next thing I'm trying to get my jacket off, because I'm just heating up. And I said to him, I'm not feeling very well. I think I'm going to pass out. And next thing, there was 2 nurses come racing over, and they said, can you get onto the floor? And I was like, I don't know. So they put a mattress thingy down on the floor, and I had to lie on the floor with my feet up on a chair for about half an hour, and they came and checked my blood pressure. And so probably after, I think it was probably 20 minutes to half an hour, they said to me, now, do you think you'd be able to get up? And I was like, I don't know, we'll see. So I got up and I sat on the chair, and I drank my broth, and I eventually thought, well, I have to probably leave. And so I got up and left, and my husband was outside waiting, thankfully, to drive me home, because I wouldn't have been able to drive the car. I was feeling pretty crap. And so when I got home, I was really nauseous and just felt really bad. I still had nausea the next day for close to a bit over half the day. I had clients booked, so I was working. But the early afternoon, I started to kind of feel a little bit more human. And so the nausea kind of confused me. I was like, why would I have nausea after donating blood? I was unsure. So anyway, that was my first blood donation experience. And I had been unsure whether I was going to go and do it again. It kind of put me off, especially the feeling of almost fainting. If you've ever fainted, is quite a horrible feeling. It's not pleasant. And so it put me off a little bit. But anyway, so I've been kind of mulling over whether to go and do it again or not. The high ferritin has been bothering me a little bit, and I've been trying to decide when to go back and be retested. So anyway, in the meantime, I did a video. My last video, I was talking about blood pressure. And so this wasn't with regards to myself. This was with regards to my dad. And that the information I've got in that video about blood pressure is actually really important, and only 80 odd people have seen it. That's what frustrates me about YouTube, is if I change my subject, my YouTube channel's not huge anyway, but I change my subject, no one sees my videos. And so it's really annoying the way that the algorithm seems to work. But anyway, I shared the video on X, and a lady who follows me on X asked me what my dad's ferritin level was. And thankfully I had that, because his doctor had tested it. So I told her it was 170. And because when I looked at Dad's tests, 170 is kind of the middle of the range. It's not optimal, I've got Dr. Berry's book, and optimal, according to Dr. Berry, is under 100. But I thought, well, it's probably not too bad for a 90-year-old, Didn't think too much of it because I was more focused on his homocysteine, that what the video about the blood pressure was about. And so anyway, this lady asked what his ferritin was, and I said 170, and she said it's too high. It should be between 50 and 80. And I was like, oh, I thought it would be okay at his age. It wasn't. I didn't think it was too bad. So she said to read P.D. Mangan's book, Dumping Iron. And because I said to her, my ferritin is way higher than that. I told her it was 510. I'd forgotten that the second one was 540. So anyway, I ended up, P.D. Mangan, I can't remember what his name is, his first name, but anyway, he kind of jumped into the conversation just very slightly on X, and I went and had a look at his book, and so I decided to buy the Kindle version. So I've been reading the Kindle version. I'm most of the way through it. And that is really eye-opening with regards to iron and the research that shows that iron causes all sorts of problems that are associated with aging, all sorts of diseases like cancer and diabetes and everything else. And so it's actually got me a little bit more concerned than I was about my high ferritin, and has made me decide to go and do more phlebotomy and have to donate some more blood. So I booked in yesterday to go and do another blood donation in August. According to him, from the research that he's looked at, donating blood reduces your ferritin levels by 30 to 50 points with each donation, usually. So today, reading through his book, I went and had a look at the couple of lots of blood tests that I've got from, years ago, because I knew that in the past there'd always been kind of a bit of weirdity going on with my iron and my ferritin. Back then I didn't really know what it meant. I just knew that I had probably some kind of anemia. I know that my iron levels were always low before I hit menopause, because my periods used to be incredibly heavy, like ridiculously so. So, but I don't know what my ferritin was years ago. I don't have those results. But the first test that I have there is from 2011. So in 2011, my ferritin was 31. So it was in a really good range there. For women, apparently between 20 and 40 is ideal for women of any age. So it being 540 is pretty up there. So 31 is in the ideal range. Now in 2014, so 2011 was when my thyroid was overactive. My ferritin was low, but my iron was low as well. Then too, it was under where it should have been, even though I was postmenopausal at that stage. I went into menopause when I was 44. So the next test that I've got there is from 2014, and my level had gone up to 151. So in 3 years, it had gone up by 120 points. So according to the levels in Australia at that point, I was high, because their levels back then anyway, where I was, were between 20 and 110, I think, for women. So at 151, I was high back then. And then, of course, as I said, April this year, I was 510. In May, I was 540. So reading P.D. Mangan's book, reading the Dumping Iron book, there's a lot of information in there, and a lot of pointing to a lot of studies and research. Having high ferritin, going by the research that he's looked into, can cause a lot of these diseases. It's a cause. It looks like it's a cause of aging, and it's a cause of cancer, and it's a cause of diabetes, and it's a cause of Alzheimer's and dementia and all of these things. So there's this whole chicken or the egg thing. Is it the iron that's causing these problems, or is it those problems causing the high iron? And it may be both, but it looks like iron definitely is playing a part in those. And according to P.D. Mangan, looking at our ferritin levels is the best way to assess that. So, because the ferritin packages up the iron to try and protect your body from it, because it's such a volatile molecule. It's like oxygen, so our body needs to regulate it as strictly as it can. So it packages it up in the ferritin, which is a type of protein basically. But there can be free iron floating around as well, causing problems, and there can be things happen in your body that causes your body to kind of break down some of the ferritin or those proteins and release the iron as well, is from the way I understand it. So there are different ways, apart from bloodletting and phlebotomy, donating blood. There are different ways, a few other ways of managing ferritin levels and therefore iron levels. So when it comes to diet, of course, on a carnivore diet, we're eating a lot of red meat, and I suspect that that's why my ferritin has gone so high. So there's obviously something wrong there, or something that's making my body absorb more iron. I suspect that may be, if it's not any of those other things that I mentioned earlier, I suspect that it may be the insulin resistance. Insulin resistance can play a part there, and I'll explain that in a minute. But ways of managing it, that's what I was getting to, is within our diet, there are foods and drinks that help to reduce iron absorption in our body. So some of these are tea and coffee, green tea, black tea, coffee, red wine, chocolate, and these are the phytates in these plant foods and the tannins can help to bind the iron and make it unavailable. But apparently they work better on the iron that comes from plants, so the non-heme iron. When it comes to heme iron, they do still have an effect. Olive oil is another one. They do still have an effect, but not as much of an effect on heme iron as they do on non-heme iron. So on a carnivore or predominantly carnivore diet where the iron's coming from red meat, they're probably not going to be as effective. The one thing that does have an effect there, so eggs is another thing too that binds iron, but apparently it binds the plant iron, the non-heme iron, a lot better than it does the heme iron. The one thing that does work with heme iron is dairy products. So eating some cheese with your meat. So because I've been on and off cheese, because of the whole weight issue thing, I'm like, I need to stop dairy to see if it helps with the weight loss. And then, of course, it doesn't really make a whole lot of difference for me from what I've found. And so I'm eating my meat without any dairy. And then obviously, I guess my body is absorbing more iron. The other ways of managing this is aspirin. So some people take aspirin or baby aspirin, but then there can be issues with bleeding from that. It's just another pharmaceutical. I'd rather not do that if I don't need to, but it does have some really good benefits, aspirin, for stopping cancer, reducing cancer incidence, which is interesting because you've got to wonder whether those cancers, whether it's the iron that's the bigger player in causing those cancers. For example, something that I pulled out of it is with esophageal cancer. Aspirin reduces the incidence of esophageal cancer by 75%. My grandmother died of esophageal cancer, and so did one of my aunties on my mum's side. So same family line. Mother and daughter both died of esophageal cancer. So that's something that's obviously in mum's side of the family. And so I have to kind of wonder how much iron has played a part in that. And, maybe aspirin could be an idea, but I don't know. The other thing is some supplements. So resveratrol can help and quercetin can help because they help to reduce the amount of iron that's absorbed by your body, but they also help to increase hepcidin. Hepcidin, is that what it's called? I need to check. I've got a whole lot of notes here. I've been scribbling down notes frantically while I've been reading this book. Hepcidin. So hepcidin is a hormone that's released from our liver that controls our iron levels. So it regulates how much iron is taken up by the body, is absorbed by the body. And so the resveratrol and quercetin, green tea extract as well, they all play a part in removing excess iron from the body. The quercetin, from memory, the quercetin and the green tea extract both cross the blood-brain barrier and can help to remove it from the brain. I'm not sure about the resveratrol. I've got a feeling that does as well. But they do increase the hepcidin as well. So that helps to, when hepcidin is higher, it keeps iron lower. So they have benefits there. And it's interesting because, my sponsor for my video and my channel is Particular Supplements, and they have these supplements which are geared towards longevity. And so when I started reading this book and started learning about this, I was like, so how many of these longevity supplements actually have an effect on iron? And quite a few of them do. I just had a quick look the other day, but quite a few of them do. Well, they seem to. There's research there that shows that they affect iron levels in our body or iron absorption. And so I'm wondering if that's a big part of how they work as longevity supplements, because this whole iron story very much points to iron being a huge contributor to the aging process. And the more iron you have in your body, the faster you're going to age and get all these diseases. So it's actually really interesting. So at the moment, as I've spoken about in past videos, I've been taking Nmen, particular Nmen. So I've got them here. So I've been taking the particular Nmen, and this is the product that it's made a huge difference with my gut and my bowel, which is, as I've said before, was completely unexpected. And I just look at this as divine intervention. It was meant to be, because this company contacted me and sent me these supplements to try, and it's just made such a massive difference. And I find when you pay attention, the universe works in wonderful ways sometimes. And so they contacted me. So I tried that. The first supplement of these I tried, though, was the quercetin. I did try quercetin, and it seemed to be upsetting my bowel, so I stopped it. But I'd like to try that again for the iron. So I am going to try maybe doing a half a capsule at a time or something, like I did with the TMG when I started that. So I started taking the Nmen, and I've been thinking about trying the resveratrol, but I'd been kind of putting it off. But I am taking the resveratrol now after reading P.D. Mangan's book. I'm like, okay, so resveratrol and quercetin are two supplements that I really want to include in my supplement stack. That's a thing, isn't it? In my supplement stack for reducing iron and reducing my ferritin. So I've got my next blood donation in August, towards the end of August. I think I will try and go and have a ferritin test done again before then. So according to P.D. Mangan, after you've donated blood, you shouldn't have another ferritin test until over 2 months after your last one, because your body's readjusting. So your ferritin might come out lower than it actually ends up being before your next test. Here in New Zealand, we can only donate every 3 months. So that works out perfectly. So I'll go and get a ferritin test sometime in that last month before I donate again. And I'm hoping that my blood donation experience next time is a little bit more pleasant. We will see. But I'm going to keep doing it, because I want to see if I want to get these ferritin levels lower, a lot lower. I want to get them right down between 20 and 40. That's my goal. So that could take me a couple of years. So I've got a couple of years worth of videos to make talking about this. If anyone out there has any experience with this and has managed to lower their ferritin levels, especially eating a lot of meat, do comment below and let me know, because I'm trying to wrap my head around how all this works and really understand it. So at this stage, I kind of feel like I've kind of got a bit of an understanding now after reading his book. I'm kind of quite concerned about it, to be honest. But I suspect, as I said, that it is to do with my insulin resistance still having been a thing, and probably the inflammation in my gut and everything, which is now so much more settled. So so that's where I'm at. I think that's all I was going to talk about today. It's just a bit of a chat about what's going on with that. And just asking for help. If you're watching this and you have any advice, if you've been through this, please comment below and help me to find my way through this, because I can't, I haven't got money to go and get lots and lots of blood tests done. And so, that's just the way things are right now. Hence the sponsorship with Particular, and me promoting their products, because I'm trying to make a living here and be able to manage my health. So if anyone buys those supplements, I thank you very much, and you won't regret it, because they are fantastic. And also just watching my videos. I thank you for watching my videos, for subscribing and everything, because it all helps. I don't make a lot of my YouTube channel at all, and so every little bit helps. But so that's kind of where I'm at. So any comments, any suggestions, any help, anything, pop that below the video, and I'll get to that as soon as I can. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe. If you want to follow along to see what I'm doing and how my ferritin levels are going, I will be posting more on this, especially after I'm tested the next time. But there may be something in between once I wrap my head around more of this to kind of explain how it all works. And make sure to like and share with anyone that might be interested. I thank you very much for watching and listening to me today, and I will talk to you again another day. Goodbye for now.